I am on a roll today, guys. I mean, literally some of the best topics for these conversations, for these videos, come from the conversations that I have with my clients. And I just had a really good conversation with a client, and my next client didn't show up for her call. So I quickly just set up the camera, put on my mic, and we're rolling. So, one of my clients was telling me that this past weekend was 4th of July, and she's got some issues. She's trying to figure out her gut health and trying to figure out just some other health issues. And what she notices that when she eats really clean, when she eats really good, all those other health issues are made better. So we really don't truly give enough credit to what diet can do to things that are not even necessarily diet related, like health issues that are not even necessarily diet related can be made better just through eating better. Remember, before modern medicine was what it is or is what it is, food was medicine for hundreds of years. The food that people ate and the herbs and the spices and all these things were treated as medicine. So that, I'm kind of getting a little off topic, but 4th of July, she didn't eat really good, and she now is suffering the consequences of that bloating, the inflammation, just not feeling well. And so we were talking, and I said to her, I said, what? I said, when you feel like, and she's regretting the fact that she ate those things. So I said, when you feel the urge, the temptation, I said, what is that internal conversation that you have with yourself? And she says to me, she says, coach, you're always in my head, but she chooses to do the opposite, and then she ends up regretting it later. And I said to her, I said, you have to turn up the volume on that internal conversation that you're having with yourself. You have to turn that volume up so high that you cannot ignore the obvious thing that you should do. Because when that conversation is so low and it's really background noise, it's really easy to ignore it and do the opposite of what you know you should do, which leads to regret later on. So I said to her, I told her a story probably last week. I've talked about this before on this channel that there's certain foods I don't digest very well. Whey protein is one of them, so I choose to drink a plant-based protein, and peanuts. Any nut really, but peanuts are the biggest contributor. So I gave up peanut butter last December, and but every now and then I will eat peanuts. I can control peanut, and I gave up peanut butter simply because I can't control the amount of it that I eat. I need to not eat peanuts simply because I just don't digest them well. And of course, if I don't digest peanut butter well, if I don't digest peanuts well, I don't digest peanut butter well. In my mind, the reason why I don't eat peanut butter is different than the reason why I don't eat peanuts, even though the peanut butter is made out of the nuts. Completely different conversation, getting off topic. Let's bring it back. So I was telling my clients, I was in the grocery store getting my groceries, and I passed the peanut aisle. And I went down the aisle, and I really wanted to get these peanuts. And I said, all right, well, you know what? You don't have to get them right now. This is me turning up the volume on that internal conversation. So I said, you don't have to get them right now. Go get everything else you want to get, everything else you need to get, and then come back and decide. But all the while I'm shopping, I'm having this conversation with myself on, should I? Do you really want it? And well, you know how it's going to make you feel. And I told my client what I did was I took one of my AirPods in, because I do talk to myself. And I say we all talk to ourselves. Just some of us have better quality conversations with ourselves. And this is one of those better quality conversations. So I put my AirPod in to act like I was talking to someone. So if people saw me in the store talking to myself, they would think that I was talking to someone else. So I'm literally talking to myself for about 15, 20 minutes, walking around the store. Again, turning up the volume on that internal conversation. And the way the store is set up is that the self-checkout lanes are like right in front of the lane where the peanuts are. So as I'm standing in line, and the line was relatively long, where I was at in the line was literally like right feet away from where all the peanuts are. And I'm like, and I'm having this conversation with myself. At this point, I'm in line with other people, so I'm not talking to myself like out loud, because then they would know I wasn't talking to anybody. I was just talking to myself. But I'm saying to myself, I'm like, you want to do it, but you shouldn't do it. So just don't do it. Just don't think about it. Don't do it. You're going to feel so much better if you don't do it. And I felt so good about myself because I didn't do it. And guess what? I didn't suffer the consequences of doing it, because I knew if I would have eaten the peanuts, I would have been bloated. I would have had gas. I would have been constipated. I would have been a whole bunch of other things that would not have made me feel my best. And because I didn't eat those peanuts, I feel good. I turned up that internal conversation that I have with myself, because it's like the devil and the angel on your shoulder. And oftentimes for most people, that devil wins, because it's like, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's you'll only feel bad for a day or so and you'll be fine. You can eat the peanuts. But I knew that I didn't want to feel like crap for a day or two. For me, it just wasn't worth it. The peanuts are not worth me giving up time and me wasting time feeling like crap. So I decided not to eat the peanuts. Now, my client also made and we talked about leading by example. She talked about, how this would benefit her husband, and her husband does some of the cooking. And I said to her, I said, well, we've got to lead by example. I had another client that told me that initially when she started with me, her husband wanted to have nothing to do with it. But she didn't nag, she didn't push, she didn't do anything. She's like, all right, I'm going to do my thing, you do your thing. She started eating really good. She started working out. She started losing weight. And he started seeing the progress that she was making. And slowly but surely, he started coming around. He started wanting to join her in her workouts. He started wanting to eat some of the things that she's eating. And now, since him doing that, he's lost a few pounds. He's getting into better shape. He feels better about himself. And all this happened just by her doing her thing and showing the benefits of it and showing the results and leading by example. So that's what I told my client. I said, you've got to lead by example, but you can't use that as the reason why you're not doing well, because he's not doing something or somebody else is not doing something. And then she also talked about wanting to show up for her kids a certain way. And she wants to, and that's what I told her. I said, leading by example. I said, kids, watch. We got to make it fun for kids. So I said, as they see you getting into better shape, they see you getting healthy, they see that you feel good and you're doing all these positive things for yourself, they're watching and they're likely to want to follow in your footsteps, to want to take care of themselves. So I said to her, you've got to turn up that internal conversation, especially when you want to do something that goes against what you want to accomplish. And you want to accomplish feeling better. You want to accomplish losing weight, regardless of what you want to accomplish. You've got to learn to pause sometimes. Don't make that decision immediately. Turn up, like I said, when I was in that grocery store, I could have immediately just put the peanuts into my carriage and kept on moving and not even really thought about it. But I had to turn up that internal conversation with myself, and I had to say, all right, you don't have to put them, you don't have to get them right now. You got a bunch of other stuff you got to get. Just go get everything else you need, and then we come back. And a whole while I was turning up that internal conversation, and it led to me making the right decision. So maybe you need to turn up that internal conversation whenever you want to do something, whenever you're tempted to do something that you know you shouldn't do. You got to turn up that internal conversation and I hate to say make yourself do the things, but that sometimes you got to do it. Sometimes you got to force yourself to do the things that you know you should do. So turn up that internal conversation. Let me know what you think about this video down below. And let me know if you need any help. If you need help on your journey, click the first link below in the description. Fill out the form, and the two of us will figure out what we need to do to get you from where you're at to where you want to be.